All right, my BIBLEin365 brothers and sisters, we have arrived at the most incredible letter that James wrote to the Hebrew church. And folks, this one is remarkable. I have to tell you, this is unique, this is powerful, and let me just simply say this. Although many say it was only to the Hebrew church, it is to all believers because the message is powerful, inspired by God, and absolutely remarkable. Let me just simply say this right off the bat. The one thing I need you to hold fast to. This was written by James, the half-brother of Jesus. Now, this is important because when you recognize who this person is who is writing, it should mean a whole lot more to you, especially when he writes things that you would not expect a sibling to write. This stuff is incredible. And folks, I want to say this again and again and again and again. This is not a book you want to read through quickly. This is not a book that you just want to sort of browse through, get past the verses so that you can put another notch on your belt. You do not want to do that. This is the one, well, notch on your belt. I don't know if you're a lady, there's no notch on your belt. Anyway, this is the book that you want to take a lot of time digging through because it is insightful. I want to make a recommendation, and that's this. I would recommend that you read through it quickly, just so that you can get the overall picture and then commit to reading through it slowly. Now, the way you do that is you read through the whole reading, the whole book in the morning, and then take some time to slowly and methodically read through it over the next several days. And the reason why I say that is because there's so much to pull in. The other recommendation that I would make is that you take the time to listen to my teaching on this passage. As a matter of fact, I just recently finished teaching through the book of James. You can find it on jamescadiz.com. Make sure you go through the most recent version of it, the one that you can see on video, because it is so powerful. There is so much stuff to go over. I believe I have about 20 Bible studies worth in this series, and it is remarkable. Now, why is it so important? Okay, plain and simple. The book of James, the letter that James writes here to us, is literally the Old Testament version of Proverbs. Think of it in the New Testament. It is literally a New Testament version of what you see in the book of Proverbs. It is an awesome book of wisdom with an unbelievable amount of insight in how you should be living and how your life should be lived. God gives us an immense amount of practical wisdom in what James writes. We learn about what it means to walk with the Lord and to serve him. And I want to bring up a quick, a very quick pet peeve that I have. And that is a statement that people make all the time that kind of bothers me because James kind of blows it out the water. It's a misconception. People say, well, my Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship. Actually, it's a religion, okay? Believe it or not, religion simply means the habitual practice of something. And I choose to habitually worship the true and living God. And by the way, James talks about what an undefiled religion looks like, what pure religion looks like. He defines it for us in James chapter 1. And what I love about this chapter right off the bat is it gives you insight as into what to expect when you go through difficulties, what it means to persevere, having God's wisdom through great trials, and really what it truly means to express your life through the living of faith, right? To understand what it means to walk with God, what it means to serve God, what it means to say, God, I choose to live my life while trusting in you. There's so much stuff there. He talks about how to deal with temptation, how to deal with money. Like, there's a lot of really practical implication on what happens when you have money and what happens when you have wealth. Remember, wealth has nothing to do with money. Money happens to be sort of a mean to an end, right? But the reality of it is there's so much more to it, and James talks about all of it. He talks about the words that we say, right? The very tongue that we use. He speaks about things like favoritism and why that's such an important subject to be considering when it comes to God, because God doesn't show favorites. In other words, God is not a respecter of persons, and that is something that we learn about, and it is such an incredible principle to understand, because that means God is an equal opportunity God. We all have access to him based on the work that Christ did, not based on the works that we did. If it was based on our own merits, we would be in big trouble. But if that is the case, then what does it look like? And this is when he brings up faith without works being dead and what that actually means. And there is so much to be said about that. By the way, he's going to talk about what it means to be worldly minded. And folks, I'm going to tell you this right now. I see so much of it nowadays. I see so many people being worldly in the way that they think. Their minds have been written according to the coding of this world. And James is going to show you how to deprogram yourself from all of that. And when you get to James chapter 5, it's a culmination of all of it. But there's one aspect of James 5 that I really want you to focus on, and that is the subject of prayer. And so there's so much to be said about this book. I'm telling you this right now. Read it like crazy. Get it inside of you. And whatever you do, please go to jamescadiz.com and listen to those Bible studies. By the way, it's all free, okay? So go there, listen to it. There's no incentives. There's even no commercials, I believe, on any of my Bible studies on jamescadiz.com. So it's just get in, listen to the word of God being taught to you, and be blown away, because God is going to radically and substantially change your life in the very things that you hear. It's going to blow your mind, and your life will be very much enriched. Now, I also want to say this, because this is important. And I think that what ends up happening is, if you ignore this sort of nuance, you will have a markedly difficult time with walking away from James. And that's it. Okay? Listen to this. If you do not apply immediately the things that you are reading in James, it's going to be more and more difficult for you when you revisit these subjects. And I'll tell you why. Because the way James wrote this book, and I believe the way that God inspired the writing of this book, it was designed to be acted on immediately. Now, I want to just simply say this. All of the Bible is that way. But this is especially true in James, because you cannot understand from the principles that you find near the end of the chapter the full implications of what it means until you've applied what's at the beginning of the chapter. And it's that way with the whole letter. So make sure you put into practice the things that you read, because it will just radically change your life. By the way, I am looking forward to the Q&A that's going to come out of this one, because there will be some great questions that will come out of James. I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, the Q&A in December is going to be a live one. And I'm excited about that. When I say live, I mean in person. And I'm looking forward to that. So for those of you, stay tuned to find out how that's going to work out. I'm looking forward to meeting you guys personally, to having conversations with you. It's going to be a spectacular time, and I'm very much looking forward to it. And let me just simply say this. We are in November. We are getting close to the end of the year, which means you have done yet another extraordinary thing. I'm so proud of you. Keep fighting the good fight. Go for it, you guys. You've done a great job. And by the way, we won. We've got a great 4 years ahead of us. Pray for President Trump. Pray that God keep him safe. And pray for Charlie Kirk, because I can promise you that Charlie has a lot to do with what's happening over there right now. So pray for him, pray for Erica, and continue to keep your eyes on Jesus. Love you guys. God bless you. And to God be the glory. We've got a great 4 years ahead of us. Keep seeking the Lord, you guys. Great things are about to happen. I love you guys. Keep looking to him. God bless you.